Nana's book. We were following that. We were reading and trying to explain. That is the format we were following. So today, just to set up an example, Kiran is following that method, and he has chosen the topic love. Love is a very, very powerful, beautiful chapter. Very, very powerful. Uh, so let us, each topic he will read, we listen, and we will give a moment. If anybody has any questions, we can discuss the questions. And if everybody is satisfied, we can proceed to the next topic. There is no absolutely necessary, we have to finish this chapter. If this chapter is not finished, we can go next week to continue on this chapter. That is another point. Anybody can read, but let us stick to one person right now.
Okay, okay.
Okay. And while the person reads, everybody mutes and nobody interrupts. That's
read little slowly.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Read slowly. Anything else? Now I am being interrupted. Okay. All right. Jai Baba.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen so you can also see it on your screens when I read. So, okay. Can you see my screen?
Page number?
Yes.
Page number, any books different. So in my book it is
115 love.
American edition.
10 and Cheppandi.
7th edition. 1131. Let me.
110.
110.
110.
7th edition, online edition, and the book has got different number.
Really 160 on the online version, 161. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Jai Baba, this topic we have chosen last week. Prabhakar Mai recommended, and very good topic. And in a way, it has a beauty to it because love is universal. I think everybody has some understanding of love. So it's also very practical. And also, love is universal in terms of all schools of thought. Even the atheist believes in love just as much as the theist. This chapter from the Discourses of Love is actually a beautiful chapter. It's actually written in a way that appeals to the spirit and to reason. So it's I thought it's very nice. So I'll read this slowly. We will go through each section and then I'll pause and then continue slowly. Okay. Ideally, if our discussion is at the end of the chapter, which will probably take about 15 minutes to read, then that would be best. But if there's any questions or clarifications along the way, please stop me. Okay, ready? Jai Baba. Okay, love. Life and love are inseparable from each other. Where there is life, there is love. Even the most rudimentary consciousness is always trying to burst out of its limitations and experience some kind of love, unity with other forms. Through each form, though each form is separate from other forms, in reality, they are all forms of the same unity of life. The latent sense for this hidden inner reality indirectly makes itself felt even in the world of illusion through the attraction which one form has for another form. The law of gravitation, to which all planets and the stars are subject, is in its own way a dim reflection of the love which pervades through every part of the universe. Even the forces of repulsion are in truth expressions of love. Since things are repelled from each other because they are more powerfully attracted to some other thing. Repulsion is a negative consequence of positive attraction. The forces of cohesion and affinity which prevail in the very constitution of matter are positive expressions of love. A striking example of love at this level is found in the attraction which the magnet exercises for iron. All these forms of love are the lowest type since they are necessarily conditioned by the rudimentary consciousness in which they appear. Okay, clear so far? Okay, I'll continue.
Yeah, I think let's stop here and see if anybody has any questions. Basically, Baba is talking about love on the planets, right? On the planets. So most of the planets, what they are nothing but in the stone or metal, whatever. Most of the planets don't have any life. That is, no vegetation, no insects, nothing. Some planets do, but here Baba is talking about in that sense. And there are some attractions and repulsions from the planets. That is, repulsion is also a form of love. And attractions, because all these planets rotate around sun, and there is some attraction to that. This is a rudimentary form of love. That is what Baba say. Gravity, yeah.
Each section, Kada, we'll pause and see if there's any doubt. Only then we'll explain. Otherwise, it'll take too long. If it's okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
sir.
is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Continuing on. In the animal world, love becomes more explicit in the form of conscious impulses, which are directed towards different objects in their surroundings. This love is instinctive and it takes the form of gratifying different desires through the appropriation of suitable objects. When the tiger seeks to devour the deer, he is in a very real sense in love with the deer. Sex attraction is another form of love at this level. All the expressions of love at this stage have one thing in common. They all seek to satisfy some bodily impulse or desire through the object of love. Okay, clear? Any questions or comments on that, or we'll move on if it's clear enough? Okay. Human love is much higher than all these lower forms of love, because human beings have the fully developed form of consciousness. Though human love is continuous with the lower subhuman forms of love, in a way it is different from them. For henceforth, its operations have to be carried on side by side with the new factor, which is reason. So this is a very important point here, which is coming through. So keep this in mind. So along with all the previous forms of love, there is another variable which is added here, which is reason. Sometimes human love manifests itself as a force which is divorced from reason and runs parallel to it. Sometimes it manifests itself as a force which gets mixed up with reason and comes into conflict with it. Lastly, it expresses itself as a constituent of the harmonized whole, where love and reason have been balanced and fused into an integral unity. Okay? So, concept of reason is introduced here, and love and reason can be either separate from each other, they can be in conflict with each other, or they can be completely in harmony with each other. Those are the three forms that are being talked about. All right. Any comments or questions so far? Okay.
కాదు 1 minute ఇందాక
Alright.
కొంచెం బ్రీఫ్ గా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశాడు అలా చేయనీలే ఫ్యూ
Okay.
సెంటెన్సెస్
Okay. If you prefer that,
చెప్పు
fine.
చెప్పు
Chip mine.
ఇప్పుడు చదివింది బ్రీఫ్ గా చెప్పు ఫస్ట్ ముందు చెప్పినట్టు ఆర్ యు దేర్
When 1 minute, Mai has to unmute himself, maybe.
I mean, nobody has any questions, so I think it's okay.
ఫస్ట్ నువ్వు ఫ్యూ సెంటెన్సెస్ లో ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసావు కదా అలాగా ఎవ్రీ పేరాకి ఫ్యూ సెంటెన్స్ బ్రీఫ్ గా
Any questions that you explain? Okay, all right. Mai, explain, Mai.
So Baba has explained how he's coming is, so he's just talking about not divine love here. We have to understand that. He's just talking about love. There's a big distinction between love and divine love. And let us not go into the differences right now, which we will be coming to that point at the end of this chapter. But he's just talking about love. Love can be anything. It can be attraction, it can be repulsion. Yeah, these two kind of formats. Very, very basic love. So first he talked about the planets and repulsions from the big planets from each other and attractions from each other. That's what he talked about. And then he talked about love in the animal world. And a lot of experiences we also have. We have through the dog and other animals, and a lot of WhatsApp messages were there. Humans were interacting with animals with a lot of love, how they are showing so much of love. We understand that. And but only problem there, not problem, only point there is their consciousness is not evolved. They're in a very, very basic consciousness. And through that consciousness, animals show their love. That is the love he talked about in the animal world. Now he came to the human love. And here he's talking about human love, and we have consciousness evolved completely. And our mind works. And we want to know reason. Anything what we do has to have a reason, right? So even when we want to apply the emotion of love, we have to have a reason. Then only we love. In one of the chapters, Baba gave an example. We buy good clothes to our own children, whereas we don't care about the street same age children outside. That's because we have some reason for that. So there is a reason attached to the love in this human nature. And
I think let's continue ఎందుకంటే అది I think it'll get too let's stick to the text, and anything specific to the text clarifications we'll clarify, and then we can come in the end to all this. What do you say? Okay.
Yeah, but let's stick on to that. Let's not change from one method to other method to one method. Let's stick on to one method.
Amma, yeah, Amma, I'll tell you what, let me continue with the flow, and if there's any complication, people ask. Okay, otherwise yeah.
Okay.
Thus, human love can enter into three types of combination with reason. In the first type, the sphere of thought and the sphere of love are kept as separate as possible, i.e., the sphere of love is practically inaccessible to the operation of reason, and love is allowed little or no access to the object of thought. Complete separation between these two aspects of the spirit is, of course, never possible. But when there is an alternate functioning of love and reason, oscillating in their predominance, we have a love which is unillumined by reason, or a reason which is unenlivened by love. Let me repeat that. Complete separation between these two aspects of the spirit is never possible. And there is an alternate functioning of love, oscillating in their predominance. We have love which is unillumined, so love without reason, or reason which is unenlivened, so reason without love. In the second type, love and reason are both simultaneously operative, but they do not work in harmony with each other. Though this conflict creates confusion, it is a necessary phase in the evolution of the higher state where there is real synthesis of love and reason. In the third type of love, this synthesis between love and reason is an accomplished fact, with the result that both love as well as reason are so completely transformed that they precipitate the emergence of a new level of consciousness, which compared to the normal human consciousness is best described as super consciousness. So, three types: love without reason, reason without love, or in conflict with the other. And the third one is where it is in harmony. So, when love and reason come in harmony, there is a new level of love, which is referred to here as being much higher than the other forms, and it takes human consciousness from its normal state to a super consciousness state. Okay.
Kiran, I think this topic needs some discussion and
Sure.
expounding on these values. So, see if anybody has any ideas. First topic, issue that Baba talked about is human love, much higher than, okay. Though human love continues with subhuman forms love, in one way is different from them. Henceforth, operation has been carried out. Sometimes human love manifests itself as force, reason. Okay, yeah, the human love can enter into three types of combinations. In the first type, sphere of thought and sphere love are kept separate as possible. So, what is an example? Anybody has an example of this, so that we can understand? In the first type, the sphere of thought and sphere of love are kept as separate as possible. That is, sphere of love is practically inaccessible to the operation of reason, and love is allowed little or no access to the sphere of thought. Complete separation between these two aspects of spirit is of course never possible, but when there is an alternate functioning of love and reason oscillating in their predominance, we have love that is unillumined by reason or reason unlivened by love. This needs some discussion. So I'll leave it to the floor to discuss.
First type of love lo reason love రెండు సెపరేట్ పార్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదా. ఫ్రాన్సిస్ బ్రౌజాన్ అని ఒక ఆస్ట్రేలియన్ కవి, ఆయన ఫస్ట్ బాబా గారిని చూడగానే నో డౌట్ ఈయన భగవంతుడే అని ఒకేసారి డిక్లేర్ చేసేసుకున్నాడు. అంటే ఏంటి, అక్కడ ఒక అనుమానం లేదు, ఒక రీజన్ ఏమీ లేదు, బాబా అంటే దేవుడే. సో ఫస్ట్ లవ్ ఆయనకి ఎలా కలిగింది? ఫ్రాన్సిస్ బ్రౌజాన్ మనకు తెలుసు కదా, ఆస్ట్రేలియన్ కవి, సూఫీ ఆయన. ఆ విధంగా బాబా గారిని దేవుడిగా ఆయన యాక్సెప్ట్ చేశారు. అది ఫస్ట్ టైం కి ఎగ్జాంపుల్. ఆ తర్వాత రీజన్స్ ఉంటాయి, ఆయనకి రీజన్ అనవసరం. ఫ్రాన్సిస్ బ్రౌజాన్ వేరే రీజన్ కోసం వెతుక్కోలేదు, లవ్ కోసం ఆయన చూసుకున్నాడు. బాబా గారిని చూసుకోగానే ఆయనకి లోపల నుంచి కలిగింది, అది బాబా దేవుడు. సో ఈ లవ్డ్ బాబా, మెహర్ బాబా. సరిగ్గా చెప్పగలిగానా రవి? ఫస్ట్ దానికి ఎగ్జాంపుల్.
Very good example, Udina.
Exactly. Second one is agnostic antar kada, questioning mind, reasoning, they bring it. That is second example. అది చదివావా కిరణ్? సెకండ్ ది మూడు చదివేసా ఎట్ ఎ స్ట్రెచ్.
మూడు చదివాడు, సూపర్ కాన్షియస్ దాకా చదివాడు.
ఇక్కడ వరకు చదివాను.
After finishing 3 points, we should talk.
ఫస్ట్ దాని ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్పండి.
ఫస్ట్ ది కరెక్ట్, ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ. Oh, carry on.
Carry on. Okay. Human love makes its appearance in the matrix of ego consciousness, which has countless desires. Love is colored by these factors in many ways. Just as we get an ever-changing variety of designs in a kaleidoscope by the various combinations of simpler elements, we find an almost limitless qualitative variety in the range of love, owing to novel combinations of psychic factors. And just as there are infinite shades of color in different flowers, so there are diverse, delicate differences in human love. Human love is encircled by a number of obstructive factors such as infatuation, lust, greed, anger, and jealousy. In one sense, even these obstructive factors are either forms of lower love or the inevitable side effects, side results of these lower forms of love. Infatuation, lust, and greed might be looked upon as a perverted and lower forms of love. In infatuation, a person is enamored of a sensual object. In lust, he develops a craving for sensations in relation to it. And in greed, he desires to possess it. Of these three forms of lower love, greed has a tendency to extend from the original object to the means of obtaining it. Thus, persons become greedy for money or power or fame, which can be instruments for possessing the different objects that are craved. Anger and jealousy come into existence when these lower forms of love are thwarted or are threatened to be thwarted. These lower forms of love obstruct the release of pure love. The stream of love can never become clear and steady until it is disentangled from these limiting and perverse forms of lower love. The lower is the enemy of the higher. If consciousness is caught in the rhythm of the lower, it cannot emancipate itself from its self-created ruts, finding it difficult to get out of them and advance further. Thus, the lower form of love continues to interfere with the development of the higher form and has to be given up in order to allow for the untrammeled appearance. Untrammeled means unrestricted appearance of the higher form of love. Okay? Let me pause there. Some very interesting concepts, very clearly articulated. Talking about the qualitative variety in love, the lower forms of love, and the need to emancipate from the lower form.
What is thwarted? Thwarted. Thwarted means.
Oh, thwarted means it is either derailed or restricted or not allowed to.
Yeah. Prevent from accomplishing something. Yeah.
Prevent from accomplishing something. Correct. So anger and jealousy come into existence when greed is not fulfilled.
Yeah.
Basically.
So, can I comment something?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Yeah.
So we read the third prayer, right? Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and still at more till we become. Come on. So more and more, Baba says, we can say to Baba, hey Baba, we are loving you. But Baba says, didn't stop there. Baba said, love me more and more. So how do we, question comes, right? How do we love him more and more? See, that is where these lust, infatuation, greed, anger, and jealous, we all have it. If I say, hey, I don't have any jealousy, I'm, fooling myself. I may not show it, but it will be there. When the situation comes, these things will come up. Greed, anger, lust, all these things. So, real test is when we get the situation. Until we get the situation, we cannot assume. I cannot be like a turkey. There is a story. Turkey runs, something is running after a turkey, and it goes and puts the whole head into the tree, this thing. And it thinks nobody is chasing her. So that is how we think. But it is very important for us to pay attention to our own of these weaknesses. And once we find it, figure out a way, how can we reduce that? So that we'll be able to enjoy the love of God. That's my comment. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Okay, just I would like to just one point.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the best example of pure love? Pure love. What is the example? మనం అంటే ఇవేవో చెప్తారు ఇవి లైలా మజ్ను అని ఇంకేవో ఉన్నాయి కదా దేవదాస్ అని ఇంకా చాలా రకాలు. బట్ డాగ్స్ లవ్ ఉందంటే దట్ వాట్ ఐ ఫీల్ చూస్తుంటే ఎప్పుడు కూడా దట్ ఈస్ ది ప్యూరెస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ లవ్ అనిపిస్తుంది. మన హ్యూమన్ లవ్తో కంపేర్ చేస్తే. డోంట్ యు అగ్రీ విత్ మీ? ఇప్పుడు దాని లైఫ్ కూడా సాక్రిఫైస్ చేస్తే టు ప్రొటెక్ట్ ఇట్స్ ఓనర్. తర్వాత దాన్ని ఎంత కొట్టి ఒక రూమ్లో పెట్టినా కూడా కలుపు తీసిన తర్వాత మెడలో ఒక్కసారి వచ్చేస్తుంది. ఇటువంటి అది మన మనుషుల్లాగా ఏదో పెట్టుకొని అలా ఉండదు, దానికి స్పాంటేనియస్గా వచ్చేస్తుంది.
బట్ చంటి, కెన్ ఐ ఆన్సర్ యూ? ఇంకా మాడతావా, లేకపోతే కెన్ ఐ ఆన్సర్ యూ టు దట్ క్వశ్చన్?
ప్యూర్ లవ్ అనిపిస్తుంది.
Okay. All right. So dogs love, pure love, no doubt. They have very pure love. Anta chesna kuda they come back with the love, wagging the tail and all. Okay, that's what we are experiencing right now. But one thing we have to understand is that is their nature. That is the dog's nature. And the dogs are not evolved completely. Their consciousness is not evolved. So nature అనేటప్పటికీ it comes to the sanskaras. Okay, so highest form of love in human beings, let's talk about human beings who have evolved consciously. The highest form is mother's love for the child. So even mother's love is also natural tendency of a mother to have that love for their babies. That is also has got some strings in that attached to that. It's not pure love. Only pure love is the divine love. Only perfect masters can exhibit that pure love. Whereas humans, as Baba said in one of the chapters in discourses, it is not possible for humans to exhibit. We should try. We have to try. We should try. That's what Baba wants us to do. But yeah, that is the answer. Jai Baba.
Can I ask one question? Actually, maybe Atta can explain. In that mundu, when we read about the 3 ways of love and reason existing, one is love without reason. That Brabazon example is Atta gave. The second one is reason without love. And the third is reason and love are in harmony with each other. Should we not aspire to the third form? Should we not nu cheppinattu mother's love for the child is natural, right? But it is not broadening, because if the mother can love every child in the universe, that is big love. Whereas if the mother loves only her child, then that is a narrower form of love, as beautiful as it is. Similarly, Brabazon accepting Meher Baba without reason seems very almost narrow-minded, because there is no reason there. In fact, what Baba is saying is the super consciousness comes when love and reason are in harmony with each other. So can somebody explain that to me? Maybe Atta or you or Amma or anybody? My question, Adda?
Yes, let's see what others talk, then I'll come. Okay, so you want to know the difference between the highest form of reason is the divine love, and the divine love, reason, right? Reason and the no strings attachment, that love has to be compromised with each other. So the reason, let's talk about reason. So what is the quality of a reason? Reason of an individual depends upon the knowledge he has. With what knowledge is that person talking for any reason, doing anything? What was the reason? Everybody has a reason. Every human being, whatever they do, they have the reason. But different people have different reasons for the same work. Different people have different reasons. That's because of their knowledge base. That's what we are calling it, sanskaras or whatever, knowledge base. So the person who has evolved to a higher state of, let's say he has become like Tyagaraja, all these personalities who got God realization. Just before God realization, they were human beings. So their knowledge is far higher than any normal person's knowledge. So their knowledge, their wisdom is mostly divine. So that is the connection between the reason and the divine love. Jai Baba.
రవి నేను ఒక కొద్దిగా మాట్లాడతాను.
చెప్పండి సార్.
కిరణ్ క్వశ్చన్ థర్డ్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ లవ్ గురించి. థర్డ్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ లవ్ లో దెర్ ఈస్ అ డెవలప్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ కాన్షియస్నెస్. కాన్షియస్నెస్ డెవలప్ అవడం వల్ల ఈ లవ్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్డ్ అండ్ రీజన్ కూడా అందులోకి కాన్షియస్ లోకి సబ్మర్జ్ అవడం వల్ల, లైక్ విత్ కాన్షియస్నెస్ డెవలప్ అవడం వల్ల, ఇది నార్మల్ హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్స్ ఈ కాన్షియస్నెస్ వల్ల సూపర్ కాన్షియస్నెస్ డెవలప్ చేసుకుంటారు. అక్కడ మెయిన్ రీజన్ కాన్షియస్నెస్. హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్ కి కాన్షియస్నెస్ డెవలప్ అవడం వల్ల థర్డ్ టైప్ లో ఇతను సూపర్ కాన్షియస్ గా డెవలప్ అవుతాడు మ్యాన్ త్రూ లవ్. రెండోది విన్నాను గీత
కాదు వదిన, ఒక్కొక్క ప్యాసేజీ అలా గ్రాడ్యువల్ గా వెళ్తున్నాం. ఇప్పుడు భార్గవి లాంటి వాళ్ళకి కొన్ని పదాలు తెలియవు, ఆ పారాకే స్టిక్ చేసి ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ చెప్తాం. లాస్ట్ పాయింట్ కి వెళ్ళిపోయి అది నేను చెప్తున్నా. ఇప్పుడు కొంతమందికి చదవలేదు, మనం బాగా చదివాము కదా, ఇప్పుడు తను ఏ పేరా చదివాడో ఆ పేరాకే స్టిక్ అవుదాం. లెట్ హిమ్ గో ఆన్ రీడింగ్. ఇప్పుడు సూపర్ కాన్షియస్
అదే క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే, ఫస్ట్ దానికి ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నేను ఫ్రాన్సిస్ బ్రౌజా అని చెప్పాను.
వెరీ గుడ్, వెరీ గుడ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్.
థర్డ్ టైప్ కి కిరణ్ అడిగింది ఏంటంటే, ఇన్ ద థర్డ్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ లవ్ లో ఏమిటి తేడా, లవ్ లో ఏం తేడా ఏంటంటే మనకి ఇక్కడే చెప్పాడు, ఈస్ సింథసిస్ బిట్వీన్ లవ్ అండ్ రీజన్ ఈజ్ an accomplished fact that with the result that both and the reason, love and reason, are so completely transformed that they precipitate the emergence of new level of consciousness that compared to the normal human consciousness is best described as super consciousness. And three combinations of love and reason ki the third stage. Example, రెండోది lower forms of love, enemy of the higher. అవునా, దీనికి ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇది తర్వాత సబ్మిటింగ్ లో లోయర్ ఫార్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ లవ్ ఎనిమీ టు ద హైయర్. ఇక్కడ బాబా గారు చెప్పింది ఏంటంటే, మాయా మెహరాది చాలా హైయెస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ లవ్. ఆవిడది దానికి ఇంకెక్కడ తేడా లేకుండా ఉన్న లవ్. సో
హలో
వదినా,
మెహరాది
మనం విల్ గో ఇంటు ద ఫ్లో. వదినా వదినా ఫాలో అవ్వాలి. కాదు
హైయర్ ఫామ్ లోయర్ ఫామ్ అని చెప్పారు కదా, హైయర్ ఫామ్
పాయింట్ స్టిక్ అవ్వాలి. గివ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సెకండ్ థర్డ్ పాయింట్. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ థర్డ్ పాయింట్.
సబ్ హెడ్డింగ్ మారింది గీత, నేను ఇది మీరు మాట్లాడేశారు అందుకని సబ్ హెడ్డింగ్ వేరేగా తీసుకుంటాను. ఇందులో హైయెస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ ద లవ్, తర్వాత మిగిలిన వాళ్ళందరికీ లోయెస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ లో ఎనిమి. ఎనిమి అని ఎందుకు అంటున్నారంటే, మనందరికీ బలహీనతలు ఉంటాయి. సో బలహీనత వల్ల లోయెస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ అయిపోతాం. లోయర్ ఫార్మ్స్ ద లో అబ్స్ట్రక్ట్ ద రీజన్ ఆఫ్ ప్యూర్ లవ్. అంటే మనకుండే బలహీనత వలన, అంటే గ్రీడ్ అని చాలా చెప్పారు కదా, గ్రీడ్ అండ్ ఫ్రస్ట్రేషన్, తర్వాత ఇవన్నీ ఈ లోయర్ ఫార్మ్స్ వస్తాయి కాబట్టి ఇవి మనం ఈ బలహీనతలను దాటుకుని వెళ్ళలేం. సో ఆవిడకున్నది మాత్రం హైయెస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ లవ్. లోయర్ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ ద లవ్ ఎనిమీ టు ఆఫ్ ద హైయర్ అని అంటే మనకి ఈ ఎనిమీస్ అన్ని ఉన్నాయి. గ్రీడ్ అని, లవ్, ఇవన్నీ లవ్, గ్రీడ్, ఇవన్నీ లస్ట్, ఇవన్నీ ఉండడం వల్ల మిగిలిన వాళ్ళకు ఈ ఉండే ఇవన్నీ ప్రేమకు సంబంధించిన, లవ్ సంబంధించినవన్నీ లోయర్ ఫార్మ్స్. మెహరాకు ఉండేది ఆవిడకి ఏం అక్కర్లేదు, బాబా గారికి ఆమె లోకం కాబట్టి ఆవిడది హైయెస్ట్ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ లవ్.
గుడ్ అత్త, థ్యాంక్ యూ. మీరిద్దరు చెప్పింది ఐ గెట్ ఇట్.
Separating into lower forms of the love, enemy of the higher.
Kiran, can I continue?
Anybody else want to say anything?
Kiran, నేను ఒక్క పాయింట్ చెప్తున్నా.
Pavan wants to say something. Pavan wants to say something.
Okay, Amma, you
అడ్డం పడతాడు.
Amma, you చెప్పు first.
Gita, I never stop you, Gita. I never stop you. You
Okay,
think.
go ahead.
Please, Amma, you go first and then Pavan, you go next.
Amma, you go ahead.
ఒక ఆర్డర్లీగా వెళ్దాం. ఎందుకంటే నువ్వు ఏ పేరా చెప్పావంటే సెకండ్ పాయింట్ కి మాత్రమే డిస్కస్ చేయాలి. మనకి ఒక ఫ్లో ఉంటుంది. లాస్ట్ పాయింట్ నెక్స్ట్ వస్తుంది డివైన్ లవ్. ఆ డివైన్ లవ్ ఇప్పుడు ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఇవ్వకూడదు. సెకండ్ ది లోయర్ ఫార్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ లవ్, ఎనిమీ అండ్ హయ్యర్ లవ్ అండ్ లస్ట్ చదివా దానికి మాత్రం స్టిక్ అయ్యి వి క్యారీ ఆన్ లైక్ ఏ ఫ్లో. అది నేను రిక్వెస్ట్ చేయలేదు. భార్గవి వాళ్ళకి చదవలేదు కదా, వి ఆల్ రెడ్ ఇట్. ఇప్పుడు పవన్ మేము కూడా అది దట్ ఈస్ మై రిక్వెస్ట్.
కరెక్ట్ గీత, నువ్వు చెప్పింది కరెక్ట్.
అది ఆ పేరాకి స్టిక్ అవుదాం. డోంట్ గో టు డివైన్ లవ్. అక్కడ లాస్ట్ లో వస్తుంది అది నెక్స్ట్.
Okay ma, we'll do that. We'll continue with the flow and then in the end we'll talk. Pavan, you want to say something before I carry on?
Remind them. Okay.
Okay.
We are concentrating, drowned into that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Pavan, you want to say something before I carry on?
Go ahead, Kiran. I'll talk later. No problems.
Okay. All right. But so far, it's actually very clear and beautiful, at least from my perspective. It's Bhargavi, its concept is coming through. Just checking.
Yes, and Kiran.
Okay. All right. I'll carry on. The emergence of higher love from the shell of lower love is helped by the constant exercise of discrimination. Therefore, love has to be carefully distinguished from the obstructive factors of infatuation, lust, greed, and anger. In infatuation, the person is a passive victim of the spell of conceived attraction for the object. In love, there is an active appreciation of the intrinsic worth of the object of love. I'm going to read this again. Therefore, love has to be carefully distinguished from the obstructive factors of infatuation, lust, greed, and anger. In infatuation, the person is a passive victim of the spell of conceived attraction for the object. In love, there is an active appreciation of the intrinsic worth of the object of love. Love is also different from lust. In lust, there is a reliance upon the object of sense and consequent spiritual subordination of the soul to it. But love puts the soul into direct and coordinate relation with the reality which is behind the form. Therefore, lust is experienced as being heavy and love is experienced as being light. In lust, there is a narrowing down of life, and in love, there is an expansion into being. To have loved one soul is like adding its life to your own. Your life is, as it were, multiplied, and you virtually live in two centers. If you love the whole world, you vicariously live in the whole world. But in lust, there is an ebbing down of life and a general sense of hopeless dependence upon a form which is regarded as another. Thus, in lust, there is the accentuation of separateness and suffering. But in love, there is the feeling of unity and joy. Lust is dissipation, love is recreation. Lust is a craving of the senses, love is the expression of the spirit. Lust seeks fulfillment, love experiences fulfillment. Excuse me. In lust, there is excitement, but in love, there is tranquility. Very beautiful paragraphs. Any comments on this one between love and lust?
ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయండి కిరణ్. కిరణ్ లవ్
అత్త.
అండ్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ కి కొంచెం ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ ఇస్తే బాగుంటుందేమో.
అలాగే
మీ అమ్మ గీతం ఏమని లేకపోతే నువ్వు అనొచ్చు.
ఆ లస్ట్ కి నాగేశ్వరరావు గారు మంచి ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇచ్చారు. లస్ట్ ఇప్పుడు ఈ కబ్జా చేస్తారే ల్యాండ్స్, ఇప్పుడు మినిస్టర్స్ వచ్చారు, రైతుల దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి దే వాంటెడ్ ద ప్రైమ్ ల్యాండ్ అన్నమాట. దే విల్ ఫోర్స్ దెమ్ టు సెల్ ద ల్యాండ్. ఇది నువ్వు అమ్ముతున్నావు, నేను కొనుక్కుంటున్నాను అని చెప్పేస్తాడు. అతను ఈజ్ నాట్ రెడీ టు సెల్ దట్ ల్యాండ్. దట్ ఈస్ ఆ లస్ట్ తో, ఆ పవర్ లస్ట్ తో ఈ మేక్ హిమ్ సెల్ దట్ ల్యాండ్. అదొక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇచ్చారు. తర్వాత ఒక పిల్లవాడు తల్లిదండ్రుల్ని డిమాండ్ చేసి మోటార్ సైకిల్ కావాలి కావాలి కావాలని కొనగానే ఎక్సైట్మెంట్ తో అనమాట. హీ వాజ్ గోయింగ్ విత్ గ్రేట్ స్పీడ్. ఆపోజిట్ గా డార్క్ గా అయింది, వన్ లారీ ఈస్ కమింగ్. 2 lights మధ్య he was thinking 2 motorcycles are coming, straight గా with high speed తో వెళ్ళిపోయాడు. వెళ్ళి యాక్సిడెంట్ అయింది అనమాట. దట్ ఈస్ ద లవ్ లస్ట్. హీ హ్యాస్ దట్ లవ్. ఏంటంటే దాని మీద ఉండే పొజిటివ్నెస్ ఆఫ్ లవ్ ఆన్ దట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ హిస్ లస్ట్. డిఫరెంట్ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ లవ్. దిస్ ఇస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నాగేశ్వరరావు గారు చెప్తున్నా. జై బాబా. మీరు ఎవరైనా చెప్పండి.
లస్ట్ అంటే అది కాదు. లస్ట్ అంటే దే ఆర్ యూజింగ్ ద వర్డ్ లస్ట్ ఫర్ పవర్. దట్ మీన్స్ ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్ డిజైర్ ఫర్ ది పవర్. ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్ డిజైర్ ఫర్ ద పవర్నే అట్లా వాడుతున్నారు. బట్ యాక్చువల్గా లస్ట్ అంటే ఇఫ్ ఎనీ ఫారెన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఈజ్ టచ్ టు అవర్ సెన్సెస్ and we enjoy the pleasure out of it, that is the actual definition of the lust. Lot of examples. We hear music, and how are we enjoying the pleasure out of it? By listening to the music, whatever the music, that is the lust. Food, we are touching the food to our tongue, and our mind experiences the pleasure, and that is a lust. Like this, for every sense there is an attachment of the foreign object. That is the definition of the lust. People do use, oh, he has got lust for power, lust for money, but that is not the actual definition of the lust. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Nice. Okay. Atta, you want to say something?
డిస్క్రిమినేషన్ ఉండాలి అని చెప్తున్నారు ఈ పారాగ్రాఫ్ లో. లవ్ అండ్ ఇన్ఫాస్టియేషన్ లో మనకి డిస్క్రిమినేషన్ ఏమిటి అంటే రెండాటికి మధ్యలో లవ్ కి ఇన్ఫాస్టియేషన్ కి మార్జిన్, ఇది మంచి ఇది చెడ్డ అన్నది డిస్క్రిమినేషన్ ఉండాలి.
వాట్ ఈస్ రియల్ వాల్యూ?
ప్యూర్ లవ్ అంటే అన్కండిషనల్ లవ్.
జయ బాబా. లస్ట్ కే మన డైలీ లైఫ్ లో we cannot avoid the lust. As long as we are leading our life, we cannot avoid lust. It's impossible, because we eat, we listen to the music, we watch television, movies, we like good smells, and we like good touch. All these senses, we cannot avoid it. Okay, but when we are experiencing that, we have to understand that I'm enjoying this because of the interaction of this food to my tongue. The pleasure is limited. That's what we have to have understanding. As long as we have that understanding, clear understanding, this lust, we are fine. But we should not succumb to that lust. See, if I eat a little bit of food when you're hungry, it gives you pleasure and you're satisfied. But if you cannot go on eating the whole day to gain that sense of pleasure, right? And that is bad. So that is the distinction we are talking about. Distinction between.
And Baba చెప్పాను, can I come in time? Okay.
రవిచంద్రన్
Baba, what
ఒకసారి
Baba
last
said, what Baba said, spirituality అంటే ఏంటంటే అందరినీ they took him to America. They told him go for swimming, party attend అవ్వండి, have enjoy the nice dinner. వెళ్ళమా అని అంతా బాగా ఎంజాయ్ చేశారు. బాబా చెప్పారు, when you are enjoying, no, enjoy. Suppose if it is not there, don't feel. The same state of mind if you have, that is real spirituality అని చెప్పారు ఇక్కడ. ఇప్పుడు లస్ట్ అంటే నాకు అదే కావాలి, ఇప్పుడు కొంచెంసేపు ఏసీ అయిపోతే అయ్యో ఏసీ లేదు లేదు ఒక్క పెట్టేస్తుంది అనుకుంటున్నాను చూడు. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ సేమ్ స్టేట్ ఆఫ్ మైండ్. అదే ఉండాలి అనుకున్నప్పుడు లస్ట్. దిస్ ఈజ్ ఇన్ మై అండర్స్టాండింగ్. ఓకే, ఎవరికి వాళ్ళు మన అండర్స్టాండింగ్ తో చెప్తాము, నాదే రైట్ అని కాకుండా. ఇది బాబా చెప్పిన మాటలు మీకు చెప్తున్నా. జై బాబా.
జై బాబా.